Hello, everyone. I'm thrilled to welcome you to LaunchPoint, a series where I engage with leaders about the newest trends, cutting-edge strategies, and insightful knowledge aimed at elevating your business, your product, and your career to greater success. Today, I'm kicking things off with Rachel Enstrom, our Senior Global Director of Marketing, Product, and Technology. And we're diving into all things AI, specifically our approach and how businesses can strategically adopt AI for real impact. Welcome, Rachel.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be your first guest.
Couldn't think of a better first guest for this series, and really excited to have you. So let's jump in. AI is everywhere. It's all I seem to hear about. When we go to conferences, everything is about AI. You hear about it in our personal lives. It's everywhere. It's dominating the news cycle, and I just want to talk today about our journey with AI, what Horizontal has done, and learn from you as our product and technology expert and who's overseen a lot of these initiatives on what our approach has been and how it's gone for us. So I'll just start right there. How have we gone about our AI journey here at Horizontal Talent?
Well, I'll start off by saying it's been definitely a journey. We have been actively evaluating, selecting, implementing new AI tools for some time now. Whether or not we've kind of come out and said it directly, but we're really looking at ways to operate more efficiency. And so we've started to explore more proactively on how we improve the quality, speed, and cost of all of our service offerings. And so when we think about our horizontal approach and what kind of we've done this far is, we've started with technology evaluation and really identifying those partners with our stakeholders. So identifying business goals first. And these are key pain points that our team members, and when I say team members, producers, so account managers, recruiters, operational, what are those pain points that AI can solve? And that could be, anything from I'm struggling to source the right candidate. There's not enough time to screen the resumes and match them to the right job description, or I need to automate scheduling between the hiring manager and the candidate, or, candidate job matching is one that we see a lot. So we identify the business goals, and then next from there, we choose the right AI tools to evaluate. So usually around 2 to 4, we're really focused on solutions that integrate with our ATS for that ease of connection, integration, et cetera. And so, one of these things, and why that matters, I guess I'll say, is that not all AI tools are equal. And so we have to make sure that the tool that we select meet our goals, the workflows, et cetera. So once we go through our full evaluation, we also do client references is really important. What other staffing agencies are using similar tools that we want to kind of bring to evaluate as well. Once we've chosen those technologies, we always try to prioritize a pilot with the technology. Now, our partners don't always offer a pilot, but we try to start with there to really get a full optimization before going live, also before locking in a larger contract as well. And so we bring our customers, once again, our producers, our recruiters, our account managers, to help with those feedback sessions, those think tanks, those user sessions. Focus groups are really important to us. And so I think when I think about kind of the approach, it's how can user sessions and piloting really influence our AI strategy? They help us identify those gaps that, you and I are probably not aware of. We can collect a lot of feedback on just what is working, what can we continue to automate, what's going to be manual, the ongoing AI adoption. So what do we need to be more transparent with? What do we need to train more on? And then really there are adoption leaders. They're going to help us identify those barriers that we may not see on a day-to-day basis. So user sessions, product reviews, piloting is really important in our approach. And then I'll say from there, we make adjustments. So, new features are released on an ongoing basis with these AI tools. We educate our producers on, once again, I think it's important that AI enhances their role, not replacing them. So that ongoing training to improve adoption and effectiveness is really important. And just continuing to monitor that feedback. We also, part of our approach is tracking performance. So we look at key metrics. Candidate satisfaction is one of those. So as we engage with our candidates with AI tools, what's that feedback that they're giving us? How can we continue to refine the process? Monitor performance, look at user adoption, et cetera. And then how does those metrics impact our business strategic goals as well? So is it building efficiencies? Is it helping to grow revenue? Is it building a better customer experience? And all of that is shared with our stakeholders, our key stakeholders that we've identified at the beginning of the project, to really continue to foster that culture of experimentation and innovation. And then from there, kind of our approach is, how do we stay involved? How do we stay engaged on what's going on with the implementation? For me, it's really important to follow tech enthusiasts, AI leaders, listen to podcasts, listen even on social media. What are people saying about AI? I think is really important. So overall, I will say our approach has been scale smart, train our employees as much as possible throughout the process, implement a pilot group if you can, is really important, and then just continue to monitor and optimize.
Wow, that's incredible. So you're not taking AI out of a box, plugging it in, and all of a sudden you have this major transformation. And
yep, exactly.
And I know it's been a long journey for us, but I remember back to the early days and really not really knowing what could be done with AI, but starting with the kind of the problem statements of, I wish we had a solution for this, or this is taking us too long, or we don't have time, or this is a low value task that's being done by a high value resource, and trying to find better ways to become more efficient. And that's really the key, I think, is starting with, what are some of the challenges that you have? What could make you more productive? What could make your team members more productive? And starting down that path.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, it's important to identify those at the beginning. And you're going to have different audiences and different user groups that are going to help you identify those. As we look at kind of our two most important customers, our recruiters and account managers that are using AI day in and day out, recruiters have a way different, probably manual task list that they're looking at compared to account managers. So they're focused on, how do I source candidates faster? How do I shortlist them? How do I outreach to candidates quicker with follow-ups, messaging? And then now I've got to get all this candidate information into our ATS. And so, data attraction tools, et cetera, are important. And then you have the account managers that are looking for client check-ins. They just had a meeting and they want to do a quick, meeting prep or meeting follow-up to get back to them. Maybe they're wanting to look at market trends that are specific to the industry that they're going to go meet with a hiring manager, or just providing that real-time insights for them. AI can really help with that. Most recently, we've been talking with a partner around contracts and verifying, are we compliant, renewals, automating a lot of that. So there's a lot of different use cases that come up. And I think when you identify those low value tasks and how it can be allocated to AI, you've already accomplished the first approach.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it sounds like integration into core systems, processes is really the key to to bring it all together versus having these running on kind of disparate systems or processes.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So I've been reading about, with everything, there's a maturity model. And of course, there's an AI maturity model, and it's broadly defined in 5 phases. Phase 1 is the initial, it's kind of AI awareness, but really no strategy. Phase 2 is experimentation, which is pretty reactive. You're piloting a few things, chatbots, automation. Phase 3 would be operational, and that's AI is really integrated into business processes in some areas. 4 is strategic, where AI is a core component of business strategy. And 5 is really where it's transformational, where you just become an AI-driven organization, and it's deeply embedded in all your business functions. Where would you rate us in that model? And can you be at one stage in different areas, different parts of the organization? How would you explain where we're at today?
Yeah, this is a great question. And I'll also say there's a lot of great tools out there that will help you kind of rate yourself on an AI maturity model. And we've looked at them, we've invested in them too. And because we're in probably a more advanced investment in AI, I'd say we most likely are in the operational and strategic stage, kind of an in between, where we're still experimenting, we're still learning. I would say we're probably 75% fully AI, but there's a lot that is dependent, as you mentioned, that it can be different at different levels within the organization. And so you have, for example, you have your recruiting teams that are focusing on, AI from a screening, but they also still need to rely on that manual human touch. And then you have your sales and account teams that are exploring AI for lead scoring, but that's not fully automated yet because we're still making tweaks. AI is still a learning model. And then you have your operational or back office functions that are looking at payroll, compliance, but that might have some minimal AI integration that is still being defined. So I would say we're probably more on that operational and strategic. But once again, making sure everyone's knowing that it's not uniform across all departments. It does,
Yeah.
It's based off of adoption, investment, and then overall priorities for the business.
That's right. You have to start somewhere, and it'd be really difficult to say, "Hey, we're gonna implement AI everywhere," because that just takes a lot of work, and
Mm-hmm.
you want to make sure that you kind of start small, scale fast, get some successes, and take it from there. So we've been on this journey for a while now, and we're having some success. What are the biggest lessons learned so far?
Oh, yeah. I know I mentioned this earlier. It's definitely been a journey. So I would say lessons learned is AI implementation often fails, and that's not tied to the business objectives, right? So sometimes we adopt AI for the sake of being innovative, but we're not really focusing on how this solves the business problems. So I think, once again, making sure that you are aligned with business goals, you have clear KPIs. And that's something that we, took early on, an approach to make sure that wasn't missed. I think you mentioned this earlier too. AI is not a set it and forget it technology. It will perform as you make adjustments. So over times, modeling will learn from you, but it also could be ineffective too, based off of how your business changes, your processes changes. So you have to continue to monitor, look at regular updates, feature updates that your partner presents to you as well. And so that constant optimization based off of the business needs and just evolving data continues to need to happen. I would say failing to involve employees early on. So I know I mentioned pilot groups are really important, but I think you can create resistance and hinder adoption if you do not implement and engage employees early on your AI journey. And not everyone's going to be super gung-ho about AI at first, but providing that training to help them understand how AI supports and complements their role, and how horizontal, how we've phrased it, is a culture of collaboration with AI. Trying to think other kind of lessons learned. I'll just say is AI can lead to disappointment, and I think you know it does uncover some maybe business process problems that maybe you weren't aware of. So it can be slower than what you had hoped, or it can just, we have to be patient, right? And so we have to know that AI takes time to mature. There's improvements that need to be made over the course of time. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just the patience of, you'll get to the results. It might not be 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. It could take 12 months. And I think a lot of times we try to rush a lot of those implementation and expect that instant ROI. So just being patient is probably one of the biggest lessons that I've learned over the course of some of the products that we've implemented.
That's great. Thank you. And anything that you look back and say, wow, I would have never expected that, or you were surprised by on this journey? Anything stick out?
I think there's a learning curve. I'm not a developer. I didn't create a AI modeling, and so I think with the discomfort of not knowing everything with AI means there's also growth for the company, and that we're continuing to evolve that as well. I think staying curious of evolving with the technology is really important as well. And then I always say, like, embrace the fearlessness. So I think making sure that even if it is a small win with AI, that is that could lead to a big efficiency gain, I think is really important. And sharing that and trusting the process is important too, and probably encouraging for anybody out there that's starting their AI journey.
Yeah, that's great. I think for me, it's when we have brought in AI, I've expected it a little bit more to like work and be impactful and be well refined, more so out of the gates.
Yeah.
And what we've really seen, and I've seen, is that you're going to have a lot of iterations, and this is such new technology in a lot of areas, that oftentimes we're working with our partners to help build out the future functionality and business requirements, because it's so early in, and we've chosen to be aggressive and be on the forefront. But that means you gotta kind of start and see what it can do well and where it falls short, and then work with either your internal team or your external partners to help shore up some of those shortcomings. And it's really important that we set that expectation at the beginning with our team members, that judge this based on what the next 7, 1 month, 3 months, what it looks like. It's really going to be over the course of 6 to 12 months or longer to really get the full benefit of it.
AI requires time, commitment, and continuous improvement.
Absolutely. Well, I know you had some. You want to make sure you got some questions for me.
Yes. Yeah, I have a few questions for you. As a leader that has embraced technology within horizontal, and I think is probably the most spirited when it comes to piloting and trying new things. And, you are a leader that understands there's going to be failures. There's going to be things that don't work out within our business. As a leader of this organization, how do you measure success in AI adoption? What's most important to you in the business as you look at, technology implementation and adoption, specifically around AI?
Yeah, I think, if you would have asked me early on, I probably would have said, well, of course, it's the financial impact. It's the productivity improvement. For us, we're making more placements. We're generating more income. and that's going to be the ultimate measure of success. And that's certainly it's very important. We probably, if we didn't think we would get there with it, we might not be as excited about it. But I think you have to look at each project, each initiative really independently and say, what are we trying to accomplish here? Is it operational efficiency? Is it a customer experience improvement? Are we gonna do we think our clients, our consultants, all of the stakeholders we work with, do we think they're gonna enjoy working with us better because we've implemented this technology through a CSAT score or NPS? What's the level of adoption and engagement? We may think we have a great idea, but if no one's using it, how great is it? Maybe we missed the mark. So I think you have to look at it through those different lenses to really make sure we understand what we're trying to accomplish. And then as it gets better, then I think you can start tying it back more towards, okay, we're generating this income that would be incremental that we probably wouldn't have if we hadn't implemented that technology or improved that process.
Yeah. And I think, you hit on some really good points. And I think one of the things that, kind of summarizing, is that AI is no longer a trend, right? It's a core component of your business strategy as a leader, but also, as a company. And I think, if I were to ask you, what's the one thing every business leader listening to this call should know about AI in 2025 and on, what is that? What would you say that is?
Yeah, I would say it's really AI's a competitive necessity, and it's not just for innovation, and it's really not optional. And I know it's human nature to like to do things consistently, and it's easy for leaders to keep doing what has made them successful in the past. But this seems to be a generational or multi-generational type advancement here, where there's so much productivity to be gained and so much efficiency to be gained that if you're not going down this path and you're not striving and really going after it, you're going to miss the mark, and you're gonna fall behind, and it's going to be really difficult to recover.
Yep, it's critical for staying competitive. I also say too, just to kind of complement that there's so many solutions out there and AI tools that have become more accessible and affordable. I think there was a kind of a nature of only large companies can embrace AI, and we're starting to see some of these even free. There's a ton of free AI tools just to start off, and how does your business approach it? How can you evaluate it internally, that are designed for more of those small to mid-sized businesses. So there's opportunities out there if you don't have a lot of budget, or it's maybe not made it on the roadmap or the budget this year. But I agree, it's no longer a trend. It's critical for staying competitive, and leaders like you're leading with the purpose that AI is only enhancing our value to our customers.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And even if you're an individual producer, or you're an independent worker, or even just for your home business finances, things like that, if you use Microsoft products, you've got Copilot, you've got Gemini, you've got the technology you're using today is likely on their own AI journey. And that can be a first easy place to look as you're looking to do more with AI and become more efficient and more productive.
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's start to bring this inaugural episode to a close. Rachel, we've talked a lot about it, but kind of in summary, how can leaders really accelerate their AI adoption in the early stages? What are kind of the key phases?
Yeah, so I think, once again, defining that clear AI strategy. Is it aligning with your business goals? Are there quick wins that you can focus on within your projects? And then getting that leadership buy-in, I think, is really key with alignment with those business goals. I think kind of next is building out a foundation. Are you ready? Does the data that you have ensure that your strategy for success is going to align with the tool that you have chosen? And then investing in your team, making sure that you have not only the right people in place to help you implement this, but who are your key stakeholders? Who are your part of your pilot group? Who are your advocators in AI? I think also too, just starting small. AI can be overwhelming at first. So we talk about just testing it, piloting it, measuring the success, and then refining it, continuing to make changes. And how does that integrate with your larger business process? Um, I highly encourage, as you're looking at the early stages of AI adoption, is lean on your partners, lean on the technologies that you already have in your tech stack to help you find like or different AI tools that can help elevate what you have. There's a lot of great providers out there that you can consult with, you can partner with that already have maybe AI solutions built into their tech stack that you're not aware of. I think it's also important to, whether you have a IT team or an infrastructure team, but just make sure that you are establishing some sort of AI governance or policy. So, how are we going to address bias? What does compliance look like? Have you looped in your IT team from a security perspective? And once again, meeting all of those regulatory requirements. And then I think just adoption, fostering, and, we see it here often with our leadership team, but just continuing to foster that culture of AI adoption and maybe even incentivizing different AI learnings with workshops, lunch and learns, offering additional training, and just continuing to listen to them, I think is important, as chair sides or business problems that could essentially shift them from doing their day-to-day manual process into more of that AI adoption.
That's great. Yeah. And I think if you're a leader in an organization, it's really important for us to be at the forefront of this. If like I just signed up for a Copilot class because I have Microsoft Copilot. I'm using it on a daily basis, but there's probably a lot more that I could use it for. And if I'm not kind of on the front lines, engaging with it and leveraging the capabilities of it, how can you ask the rest of your team to do that? And if you're able to figure it out and share that with people and help encourage them, that can really go a long ways. That the charter is being set from the top and it's being followed through, and it's not just hey, let's go do AI here in the organization. It's everyone's actually from the top down using it.
Yes, exactly.
There any other kind of, like, if you were to boil it down, or just a couple kind of key next steps here as we wrap things up?
Yeah, I would say, start small with your projects. Those 1 to 2 AI use cases that align with your business goals, focus on those first. Assess to make sure that you're ready. You have the infrastructure, you have the team in place. Start with that pilot group. It's really important, and continue to iterate and get that feedback from them. Ongoing training with your employees, making sure that they have resources available to understand all of the capabilities. And then based off of, success or maybe processes that have not worked out, make sure you continue to scale and optimize and just continue to be relevant on what's going on and different feature updates as well.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
I have to ask you a question though, Jeremy, before we wrap things up. So personally, I think there's so many great AI tools that are out there from a business perspective, right? And we use it day in and day out. But personally, how have you used AI? Headshots, I most recently saw. You've updated your headshot to an AI. Anything else that you've used? Or how have you encouraged your kids to use AI in their day-to-day as they kind of evolve in this tech world?
Yeah, that's a great question. And with my kids, my youngest is 15 and my eldest is 24, and so they're probably using it more regularly than even I am. And I think the one question I always have is, like from an educational perspective, right now there's a lot of how do the schools make sure the kids aren't using it to kind of, in essence, cheat or feel like they're not doing the work, when I'm thinking more of like, how do we teach them how to use it to be more to
Embrace
learn
it.
more and to be more productive, because that's the way we're going here in the world. So I think we're still trying to figure that out, and the schools are using AI to look at the work to see if AI was used to do the work. And it's, to me, there's probably a better way in there somewhere. But yeah, it's hard to say where you even are always using it or where you use it. Yeah, I did the headshots. That there's some that now I'm like, okay, how do I look like my AI headshot? Because I look really good. I had more hair. It's nice and long. Maybe it looked like I'm more muscular. Uh, Chat GPT from a research I think there's certainly that's come a long ways. If there's a topic you need to learn about, if you want to understand what other companies are doing in certain areas, you can get into some quick conversations with the conversational AI tools that are out there, and have a lot of information at your fingertips. Um, and I think one of the things that's been resonating with me throughout this is, talking about the data. And, part of getting ready for this journey is to make sure you have great data. And I know we did a lot early on, and we're still cleaning up a lot of data and making it better. But where I'm really hoping it goes next for us is more of that, looking at, the core metrics of our business and really doing more of that predictive outcome modeling of what we can expect to happen. But you have to make sure you have great data, whether that's back office data. So from a reporting perspective, that's where I'm really excited about where we're going to take this next. But yeah, it's everywhere. I don't have a self-driving car yet, but probably in the very near future. I haven't been in one of those cabs yet, but I know people who have. So it's all around us, that's for sure.
I love it. I love it. One last question for you, just to kind of wrap it up from your perspective, as a leader. Any company that's listening to this, and once again, I thank you for having me as your first guest on here, but just maybe thinking about AI, and wanting to kind of embrace the journey, knowing that maybe they have the myth that, it's okay to fail, or AI is not for everyone, and kind of moving that needle with AI and getting adoption from leadership. How would you recommend, from your perspective, on approaching that conversation with making that jump to, we need to embrace AI into the organization?
Yeah, there's a lot of elements to that. I think people have different concerns about AI. And I remember being at a tech conference about 10 years ago, and the topic of singularity was hot at the time, and like merging of technology with people. And I'm thinking like cyborgs and the Terminator movie, and talking about artificial intelligence. And it, was like, really like, at what point do the machines take over? And I think for some people that's a real concern, and probably for a lot of people out there, like, how do we make sure that we can control this, that there's governance in place? And so I think, starting with addressing whatever concerns you have as an individual about it, and doing the research on it to make sure that you're comfortable as a leader with it. is important. I think what's important to the team and team members in a lot of cases is, what does this mean for me? And, am I gonna lose my job to this technology? And I think the cliche is something like AI isn't going to replace people. It's going to, people that know how to use AI are going to replace those that don't.
Mm-hmm.
And so, having those open conversations about the path and the road and the future vision for what it means to your team members. And we do that often. And we want to take the lowest value tasks off the plates of our team members so they can do higher value tasks and ultimately be more productive. And so you have to make sure that you're painting that picture for them to gain their buy-in and excitement and enthusiasm. So those are a couple of things. I would start with what your personal beliefs are and make sure that you're feeling good about it. And then two, making sure that you're having those conversations with your team and team members to make sure that you don't have a group of people that are like, I'm not doing that, or we're not doing that because we're going to lose our jobs if we go down the path. You have to make sure you have a vision for all your team members.
I always tell my team that AI will need you more than you need AI. So as it evolves, it's going to need that creative, that innovative thinker to help kind of shape its future and its modeling. So as people create more applications to solve problems, being part of that movement, that AI movement towards defining what those technologies are. And, I also think I want my superpower to be curiosity as a leader, and just making sure that as a leader, I'm continuing to ask those questions, stay curious, but also challenge other leaders to experiment and never be afraid to. That's the challenge with technology is we fail fast, we fail often, but it really is important to have that curiosity and just identify kind of how do we just keep moving forward with the opportunities that we have, the tool set that's available to us. So yeah, I agree with you. I think the world needs more AI and it's here and we've embraced it and we're excited about it. So this has been a great conversation. I'm sure we could talk more about all the things that come up with AI.
Yeah, thank you for being my first guest on our first episode of Launch Point. It's fun that we've been on this journey together and we could kind of take this moment in time to reflect on how far we've come and the successes we've had. Thanks for everyone else for joining. Keep an eye out for our next episode and have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, everyone.